So it's a work that I'm doing with Petri Kapila at Helsinki University, and well, the main motivation of this work is the origin of sunspots. And here in the background there is an active region as it's seen by the SDO satellite. So it's a bipolar region with different polarities of the magnetic field. It's an image of October of the last year. The outline of this talk, I will present some motivations, some properties of sunspots, and some very quickly I will review the history of magnetic buoyancy and this hypothesis of sunspot formation, which is the magnetic flux tubes emergence. Then I will present the numerical model that I am using for explore this phenomena, and then I will come with the results. The results are divided in three main sections. First is the dynamo, the conditions for excited dynamo, instability, then buoyancy, or the configuration of the magnetic field produced by this dynamo, and then I will present some work that I am still trying to understand, which is the back reaction, the reaction that this magnetic field has on the fluid. I will present the conclusions for finalizing. So this is an image of a sunspot, and some of the main properties of the sunspot. The magnetic field is very, very strong, of the order of kilogauss. The temperatures go from 3,000 to 5,000 kelvins, and the radius of a sunspot is of the order of 10 to the 4 kilometers. So here's the air, and it's comparable to the size of one sunspot with the size of the Earth. One important property of the sunspot is the tilt that exists between the leading sunspot and the following one. This tilt changes with latitude, and also with the it changes when the sunspot travels toward the equator. This is always also a very recent image of the sun, a magnetogram, and here is a bipolar region in the southern hemisphere, and it has also the tilt, and there is a bipolar region in the northern hemisphere, and both of them has opposite polarity, as the Hale polarity will say. This corresponds to the cycle 24. So in the previous cycle, the polarities of the sunspot were the opposite one. And so,
I mean, actually, you don't see that. It's the opposite. It's the same polarity.
oh yeah. In this case, it maybe, yeah, that's the same. Well, maybe this is not the companion of this.
So one of the sub-hemispheres is black parties.
No, maybe. Well, it's quite
No,
the
the
same.
polarity rule is right, but the sign of the magnetic
Yeah,
field
this-
is the other way around.
So we made a discovery while you were speaking.
Well, probably this is not the companion of this.
Maybe.
Now, how about the next one?
This is so warm.
Also not, right?
Well, this is true.
This is also not.
This is like you took a negative of the image.
No, but
No, these are from two different cycles, of course.
Well, that's very strange.
this is such a phenomenon only.
This is Soho in November.
Scattering the field, right?
No, I think it's probably true. I mean, the cycle, I mean, there's overlap with the other one.
But
And
this
the north and south are out of phase, out of sync a little bit. And that's actually known. by a year or two.
But it's supposed that this cycle was not overlapping anymore with the previous one.
Maybe it is. Maybe that wasn't right. So I think this is.
Yeah, probably this is not, well, it's not so big for being a sunspot, and it's not the, there should be more.
But you see a white one in front of the dark one in the upper and the northern
There's
hemisphere.
another white one in front of
Yeah.
it.
So
And
you
it's
see
not
it?
big,
It's like a very
but
small.
You mean this one?
Yeah. No. Down below. And direct in front, like as a
little white.
as a bull
Here.
shock or something. Yeah.
So you mean here should be white and dark, but here it comes dark and white again.
Ah. But this is.
all spots seem to have the same polarity.
How is this? Dark and white.
I don't know if it's.
That you don't know the north pole.
Yeah. Okay, I will clarify this information. And then this is a recent work. Is think that this tilt depends on the flux that the magnetic active region has, and it changes with the time of appearance. So this is for the beginning of the emergence, and at the beginning there is no tilt, and the tilt is more pronounced and is statistically very significant at the end of the emergence of the sunspots. This is a work from Kosovichev and Stenflo in 2008. Another property of the sunspots is the 11-year cycle in the number of sunspots. So here there is a series since the 18th century, and here we are now just starting the cycle 24. And this is the number here of sunspots. When it is seen in a time latitude butterfly diagram, then it's possible to see that the cycle is actually 22 years because the polarities change from one cycle to the next. So a complete cycle, a magnetic cycle, is 22 years. And this order observed in the appearance of sunspots with a very well organized spatial behavior and temporal behavior indicate that there is a dynamo operating inside the sun. And there are several proposals for this dynamo. There is the interface dynamo, flux transport dynamo models, or the distributed turbulent dynamo. And this is still a discussion, a subject under debate. But how sunspot appear to the surface? It was Parker in the 1955. There is a paper by Parker who say in this paper he says that a magnetic tube or a magnetic layer could become buoyant if there is a pressure equilibrium between the magnetic tube and the exterior, and if there is also thermal equilibrium, then the density of the density inside of the magnetic region will be less than the density outside, and then it will produce buoyancy. And this is the original sketch of Parker. It is in 79, but there is a previous work from Parker in 55. In that paper of 55, Parker said that this he was studying the time that these magnetic structures should take to emerge. And studying this time, he said that the most probable place for these magnetic structures is the base of the convection zone, based on the rise time of the magnetic field. And it was, well, now, after heliosysmology, most people believe that this is one of the probable places. So it's a very popular idea that magnetic flux tubes are formed at the tachyplane, where there is a very strong radial shear layer, and there is another strong radial shear layer very close to the surface. And as Axel proposed, that probably some spots are formed very close in a very narrow layer here, in opposite to this idea. So this is still under study. And in this work we want to study the feasibility of the sandstone formed in this region to emerge crossing the convection zone up to the surface. This is I will present why this is not so easy. In the 82, Spruit proposed the model of thin flux tubes. And there is one condition for instability. This is the condition for instability of these very thin flux tubes. And if the region where they are located is superadiabatic as the convection zone, then any flux tube located there should emerge, should become buoyant. But it could be located below the superadiabatic layer, in a subadiabatic region. And the tachyplane has both. Tachyplane is probably located with one part in the unstable layer and with another part in the stable layer. So this is an interesting place for storage magnetic field. And a lot of work has been made with these instabilities of magnetic flux tubes. This is a work of Caligari, where they studied the instabilities of longitudinal modes. And here there is the magnetic field strength, and here then latitude where they should be. And then when all the white region is stable, and these very dark regions are regions unstable for m=1 mode. So it's necessary necessary magnetic field of the order of 5 to 10 to the 4 to 10 to the 5 Gauss in order to these magnetic fields in a region with a subadiabaticity of these to emerge to the surface and form a bipolar region. And also the tilt angle of the bipolar region has been studied under this framework. And here it's possible to see what is the amplitude. Is 7 10 to the 10 to the 4 Gauss. And, the 4 means 4 into 10 to the 4 Gauss. And this is the tilt angle of the bipolar region that will emerge at the surface. However, as I showed you previously, this work of Stemplo and Kosovichev and Stemplo has shown that the tilt does not depend too much in the magnetic flux, so probably this is not so. It's an old result, not so valid. When the magnetic field is not organized in very thin flux tubes, idealized flux tubes, but a magnetic layer or a magnetic concentrations, then the instability criteria is not this anymore, but is this criteria, which is quite similar to the Schwarzschild criteria for convection. And yeah, it says that if the magnetic field is strong enough, then it will produce one instability in the region where it is, and the magnetic field will become buoyant. This was proposed by Newcomb in the 61. So this is a condition for two-dimensional modes.
Is there no factor 2 underneath the B square?
Yeah, I think so. Or maybe not.
No?
Maybe not. In these units, I think it's okay.
So he has considered really the instability of a magnetic flux layer. Is it true?
It's any concentration of magnetic field data with a vertical gradient.
Okay. But it might depend on exomark.
Yeah, it's only.
In that sense, not.
Yeah. And after the thin flux tubes work, came as a natural, as is natural in science, numerical simulations in 2D. And there were a lot of simulations of that, starting with Manfred Schussler in '79. And all the simulations, simulations show that a magnetic flux tube, a very strong flux tube located in an stratified atmosphere, becomes buoyant, and it starts to emerge from the bottom to the top of the stratified layer. But when it is going up, this front here produces a big amount of vorticity, and this vorticity makes the tube to split in two tubes that have opposite vorticity, and this makes that the rising stops. However, when the magnetic field has a certain amount of twist, if another component is present, not only this component, but another component of the magnetic field is present, then the magnetic field may rise without being split into vortex tubes. This is the main result of two-dimensional simulations. When the simulations are made in 3D, apparently the amount of twist necessary here is too large when compared with the observed twist of the bipolar regions. But when the simulations are made in 3D, this is not more a requirement to have a strong twist, because the bend of the magnetic field lines produce vorticity in the opposite direction than the vorticity generated by this front. And then it helps the tube to remain coherent. These are 3D simulations by Yu-Hong Fang and in spherical geometry, and the results of these simulations are somehow disappointing, because they require certain amount of twist, but this amount of twist should be very, very fine-tuned in order to have emergence of bipolar regions as it is observed. Most of the work that I presented before has been done in stratified atmospheres, but that they are stable for convection, to convection. When there is convection, the situation is different, because the motion of convection can modify the structure of the magnetic field. And two main attempts have been made in order to understand what happens with a flux tube in this situation. One by Yu-Hong Fang and company et al., and the other one very recently by Lurin Job. And what they do is introduce a magnetic flux tube, a tube of magnetic field, within a convective region. And then they study how strong should the magnetic field needs to be in order to it be able to rise up to the surface without being perturbed by the convection motions. And the same results are found in Cartesian coordinates as well in spherical coordinates, that the magnetic field strength within the flux tube should be around 10 times the equipartition magnetic field, equipartition with the kinetic energy.
In order to get the tilt angle right, you mean?
No. In this case, there is not big to have the tilt angle. In this case, for example, this has 3 times the equipartition field,
Yeah.
and here the magnetic field is rising where there is an upward flow. So it gets modified by the convection pattern. But in this case, on the right, the magnetic field has 10 times equipartition, and it rises without feeling the convection. Here the stratification is not so high. It's only, I think, that a density contrast of 15 or maybe less. So it's not so realistic, because in the convection zone there is a very huge stratification in density and more than 20 pressure scale Hale. So the magnetic field should be very strong in order to cross all this. So these are the main problems of the flux tube scenario. So they require very, very strong magnetic field. They have to evolve or rise in a very turbulent medium. And they require a large amount or then a fine-tuned amount of twist in order to produce the tilt observed in sunspots. Another problems of this scenario was found in 3D simulations of dynamo, because the dynamo simulations tend to produce a diffuse field, a magnetic field that is distributed in all the space where it is created, and not in organized tube-like structures. And from the same 3D simulation, it was found that the magnetic field tends to go down due to an effect called magnetic pumping. It could be pumping upwards, but in the base of the convection zone, the sign of the pumping is negative. So the pumping velocities tend to push the magnetic field down into the stable layer. So there is probably a competition between buoyancy and pumping. So for the simulations that I will present here, I solve numerically with the pencil code the fully compressible MHD equations. And the special thing here is that in the momentum equation, we have a forcing term that produces a mean field velocity, profile of velocity in the y direction. And this profile has a shear on it.
So we only force with respect to the mean flow.
Yes. And well, here it is. Here is show the density and pressure of the setup. So we have a very strong contrast of density, and there is between the bottom and the top of the domain there are around 6 pressure scale Hale. This is the velocity profile. This is the mean velocity profile for 3 different simulations. So we changed first the position of the center of this shear layer from here to here, or we also may change the thickness. So this profile can be very narrow or can be broad. The Rayleigh numbers of these simulations is maybe it's not 5 into 10 to the 6, but 1 into 10 to the 6. And the shear, I will show the shear that are required to excite the dynamo. But in the solar Tacoc line at the equator, this shear parameter, that is a non-dimensional parameter that we use in these simulations, is around 2.
The shear velocity you are showing here is the prescribed one, U0, not the one which is really observed in the simulation. They need not to be identical, because turbulence may create something additional. But this is the prescribed.
Yeah. Okay. This is what is the profile that we include in the equation.
It's U0.
It's U0. And what else? So here we can see how is the y velocity. So there is velocity coming in this direction, and in the stable layer the material is going in the opposite direction. So it produces a shear layer just right here. And this is the convection pattern that is formed in the simulation. Another parameters are shown in this table. In parentheses are the values for the sun. Yeah. Well, and in this set of simulations, we changed the shear, the strength of the shear. So we changed the U0 parameter in the equation. So we are increasing the velocity difference between the upper and the bottom layers. And it produces a shear parameter which is shown here. And for this shear parameter above 7, we can excite dynamo action. This dynamo is generated only due to the shear and to the stratified turbulence due to convection. There is not rotation in the simulations. Here there are the growth rates of the for these runs. All these runs have 128 cube resolution, and the maximum magnetic Reynolds number found is of around 30. In previous results of Petri Capilla, he made dynamo simulations with shear in the other direction, so latitudinal shear, and the shear parameter in that case is very small compared with this. It's 0.2 or 0.3, and the magnetic Reynolds number required to excite the dynamo is around 20. So in this case, as the shear layer is so thin, we need larger shear parameters and larger magnetic Reynolds numbers.
You have a magnetic Prandtl of 5/3. Was there a reason for that? Why? I mean, for example, why not? I mean, if you want bigger than 1, why not immediately 5, 4, 10?
You mean this?
The magnetic Prandtl model. So the ratio of between Rm and
okay. Well, we changed this, and we are in the limit of eta for having dynamo here.
Or you don't want to be super unnecessary, you mean?
If we decrease eta,
Yeah.
we will have larger Prandtl
Yeah.
numbers, and then we can have, dynamo action also.
Yeah, but 5/3 is not very big. If you want a bigger one
Yeah,
than 1,
yeah.
you could have taken 2.
Actually, we
4.
have a density, a contrast in the magnetic diffusivity too. So there is a step function. So it is larger in the stable layer. It's around 10.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the value in the convection zone.
Mm-hmm.
In this table are shown two sets of simulations with different depths for these simulated taco lines and different thickness of the layer. And for these cases, the shear parameter is basically the same for all of these runs. But for these cases, when we increase the thickness of the shear layer, of course, the shear parameter decreases. But we found that we can decrease the thickness and still have dynamo. So we can have dynamo even for shear parameters of around 4. And then I will show a possible explanation of why this is possible. Well, the price that we have to pay when we have a smaller shear parameter is that we have a smaller growth rate. So this is the case for a thicker taco line. We have tried with more and more thicker shear regions, but then we don't have dynamo. We have dynamo that grow very slowly. Finally, we increase the resolution to 256 cube, and these are for two different aspect ratios. And in this case, we change the aspect ratio in the x direction. This is not the direction of the shear, and the results are basically the same: similar growth rate and similar final magnetic field. But when we change the aspect ratio in the direction of the shear, we increase the direction of the shear, then the growth rate decreases a lot, and also the final magnetic field. And the cases here are with the highest, with the original aspect ratio, but with a higher resolution. And we have tried it with different prime numbers by changing the input flux of the simulations. And what we found is that there is a big difference between the growth rate in these cases compared with the low resolution cases. So these dynamos grow faster than the others. The saturation value is a little bit smaller than in the previous cases, and it's almost the same for these cases. Here on the right, there are the mean and the fluctuating components of the field for some representative simulations. And what this observed is that the fluctuating magnetic field is larger, and it occupies almost all the domain from the stable region, and it's also present in the convective unstable region. And in continuous line, there are shown the mean field profiles, vertical profiles of the magnetic field, and it is located basically in the shear region. With it's a bit extended towards the stable, and a little bit extended also into the convective zone. Here is the case with higher resolution, and the fluctuating magnetic field agrees pretty well with the lower resolution case, and the mean magnetic field is basically distributed in the same, is located at the same position and the lower resolution case, but its amplitude is smaller.
The mean is defined as XY average?
No.
No?
No.
What is the definition of the mean?
The mean, we have to take the average first in the y direction. Then we compute the means, and then we can average in the other direction. I will show you the simulations now, and then you will see why we need to do this in this way, not taking both horizontal average at the same time. And there is a paper by Tobias in 2008, and he found, he claims that he found small-scale dynamo action in a similar setup, very similar to this one with the Boussinesky approximation. He said that there is not a mean field dynamo, but when you see the picture in his paper, it seems that there are two big patches, one with a positive and one with negative magnetic field. So probably he made a 2D average before.
It was maybe looking at Fourier transform.
No.
No, it was average, yeah?
Average.
It was average.
And here it is how the magnetic field is distributed. So this is the middle of, so this layer here is in the interface between the stable and the unstable regions. So here we can see that the magnetic field crosses all the y direction. But there are different polarities. So if we make the average in both directions at the same time, then we have zero mean. But we have, of course, we can see that there are, of course, a large scale magnetic field in y. So I hope that it works. Yeah. So this is how the simulation looks like, and here is the velocity profile, and here is the magnetic profile, and here we see that the magnetic field is formed here, and it becomes buoyant and starts to go up to the unstable region. At some point it could be very strong, and it could even modify the convective profile, making very big cells or making even only one cell crossing all the Y extent. However, as you may see here, the magnetic field is not at all a cube. It's very distorted, but it is still strong. So there is a nice, maybe now. Well, here you can see how it is formed, amplified up to the moment that it goes up and gets the surface. Yeah. So we want to study buoyancy also in these simulations, but it's very hard because there are many things happening at the same time. So what we made was to take average and compute the buoyancy instability condition for the average. And what we found is that these cases, the first set of simulation with the taco line in the original position, here the instability condition is that this quantity should be larger than this quantity, and this will produce magnetic field unstable. So in this case, the instability is a little bit below, starts a little bit below of the interface. But here, when we have a depth taco line, the instability could be even below the unstable layer. So it means it should be, the stable region should be unstable to buoyancy. And this is probably due to the viscous shear that is very strong in this region. And this viscous shear may produce, may modify the stratification profile. It may change the temperature and the entropy profile.
Viscous shear, you say what?
The viscous heating.
Viscous heating, yes.
The viscous heating. When the
From the shear.
due to the very strong shear.
Yeah, right.
When these shear regions are thicker, so the viscous heating decreases, and we found that the magnetic field is only unstable in the convective region, and then we claim, or it's a result in our work, that these thick taco lines may produce a larger mean magnetic field, because most of the magnetic field is stable in the shear region. So where it is produced, it is still stable. Of course, there are cases of buoyancy, but in average, this is more stable than this case.
Basically, from the point of view of storage, it is better to
It is
have
better,
a-
exactly. Exactly. That is the point of this. Yeah, this is based on average, so I'm not saying here that all the magnetic field is stable. There are, of course, strong magnetic fields that become unstable, but in average, it happens. And this is a vaporized version of the results. Here is when the magnetic field rise up to the surface and produce a strong modification of the convection pattern. And here are shown the magnetic field lines. So here is where they are produced, and here is the top of the domain. So it's disordered or turbulent in here, but it's more organized here, and also here where there is another strong magnetic field going up.
Do we see such ribbon-like convection cells on the sun?
Ribbon-like?
Oh, this looks like a ribbon.
No. Well, it's in the sun, in the photoscope, you see supergranulation, and this should be below.
But it's not ribbon-like.
No, but well, it may be also due to the boundary conditions.
So it's not really, the surface is not really the photosphere. It's
No, it should be below the photoscope. Yeah.
How much?
30 megameters, maybe.
50?
Of 20. What else? Yeah, here the magnetic pressure is pushing the plasma. So it's forming only one rising self-material.
Some sort of roll. Maybe.
Sorry?
Roll. Because the
Yeah,
it's a
yeah.
possible convection pattern to have a roll. Rolls. And this could be a roll then.
Oops. And here there is another event, and this is not so strong, and only it forms a broad convection cell. This is at the surface, and this is the magnetic energy which forms these elongated structures at the bottom of the domain. These are the density fluctuations. And here there is another movie which where we may, sorry, it's not working. Nice. So this is also made using vapor. Here's the magnetic field in intensity and the lines. Here you can see the lines going up following the convective pattern. And here is how the magnetic field lines look at the top of the domain.
And the color of the magnetic field lines are also
It's big Y. Is the
SBY.
And what is the magnetic boundary condition?
vertical field.
Why did you start this with the outer box much bigger?
Sorry?
Why was the outer box much bigger than the interior? Did you?
Yeah, it's the
Cut out
the
something?
cooling layer.
Yeah, but also in the particular horizontal direction.
Ah, yeah, because I can plot the field lines all in a region.
It was a subdomain, yeah.
Yeah, subdomain. Yeah, yeah.
Because then you see better the field, you mean, or
Yeah.
or it's not so big data amount.
In the well, in the I wanted to
Yes.
focus in a region
Yeah,
like
right.
this and to see what is happening in this plane, for example.
Yes.
From there, the rough impression is that not a big extent, not a big amount of flux is really penetrating the surface.
No.
It is true.
Because this is compared with this, with the flux at the bottom,
It's a tiny fraction.
yeah, it's a tiny fraction, but still it is able to produce this. Then we have computed the buoyancy velocities, this using horizontal average. So here the contours are showing these emergence events. So this is the set direction and this is time. So with this, computing the tilt of these contours, we can compute the velocity at which the magnetic field is rising. Of course, there are regions, for example, here, where the velocity should be faster, but at the middle of the convection zone, the white dashed lines show an average, let's say, velocity of rising. And it is found to be of this value in code units, and it corresponds to 0.6 times the URMS velocity.
B, why did you call it B? I thought it was the shear velocity.
No, this is the
buoyant
buoyant velocity.
Buoyant velocity, yeah, right, sorry, of course. Yes.
Then we have studied what happens with the shear profiles that you were talking about. And This is in the saturated phase of the dynamo, and here there is a peak in the magnetic field where these eruptions happen. And what we observe is that there are perturbations. These in the contours are shown perturbations on the average shear profile.
This is the color coding.
This is the color coding, yeah. And there are changes in the shear profile. That depends on the amplitude of the magnetic field. Here I am showing only one example, but this, for example, here you may see yellow above and blue below. When the magnetic field rises or has larger amplitude, it changes. It becomes blue above and yellow below. And I am still trying to understand, this means a sharper shear profile. And I am still trying to understand why it produces a sharper shear profile when the magnetic field is very, very huge.
So these numbers are not relative deviations.
These numbers are relative to UY.
So this is 0.4%.
It's 3%, because the UY is 0.15.
Okay, that's it.
What do you mean sharper? When the field is strong? You mean the magnetic field profile is sharper, or
No, the shear.
the shear? But how is it? And that's because of the heating, yeah, or cooling. The heating.
No. This is due to the magnetic field strength.
So Lorentz force.
To the Lorentz force. This is the back reaction of the magnetic field on the shear profile.
Yeah.
So I don't want. Well, it's very preliminary to identify this with torsional oscillations, but here you see that there is always a region with an excess and a decrease of the magnetic field when there is a maximum of the magnetic field in the contours here. This in the sun is about 5%. And here is, well, it must depend, and I am running more simulations with, it must depend on the forcing term that we have, the tau in the forcing. This is the restoring time of the...
But practically you always use this forcing term, mimics the force, not the real force.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. With Petri we have observed similar patterns in the dynamo, or in the oscillating dynamo in the spherical simulations. So we are working, looking for this, for the signal of strong magnetic fields in the average profile of the y velocity, of the toroidal velocity. There is also a change in the URMS velocity profile. Here the dotted line is in the kinematic phase, and this continuous line is in the saturated phase of the dynamo. In the peaks of the magnetic field, it decreases more. Especially, well, it decreases especially in the center of the shear region where the magnetic field is located. And finally, we compute the dynamo coefficients. Here, in this case, alpha y is the important for us because it produces Bx, it produces the x component of the magnetic field. We use here the test field method, which is already implemented in the pencil code. And what we found is that in average, alpha yy is 0, but it has a large dispersion. So this fluctuating alpha can produce an stochastic alpha effect. And it is probably an incoherent alpha effect, as it was proposed by Vishniak and Axel. But it can also be the shear current effect of Rogachevsky and Chlorine. However, we cannot test this effect with the version of the test field method that is currently implemented, because for test this shear current we need the eta 1,3, and it's not available.
But that's just because you didn't use the other test field module.
In fact, it is more or less available.
It's more or less
It
available.
will not be a big deal of work to make it available.
You use test field underscore XZ, right?
Yes.
No, there are two different things. So XD would be more appropriate because your average is mainly a Y average, and not an XY average.
But then I can have this.
And the other thing is that there are three components in the test field C. These are two different issues. And here you have applied test field C, I guess. So-
you can remember.
So this XY averages are
Yeah.
so the basis of that. And this is not completely appropriate because we know that the Y, the X average
Yeah.
is averaging away the mean field. So maybe this is the reason why alpha is 0.
Okay.
No, why?
Now, the average is not appropriate because we know the mean fields cannot be reasonably defined by XY.
Yeah, but alpha itself, even locally, should not depend, should be homogeneous in the horizontal direction.
I don't know. Is it so?
I mean, unless it's a strongly magnetic effect.
This is a hydro simulation, so
This is hydro.
the only fields here are the test fields.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah,
that's-
but we have made with magnetic for a magnetic case, and the results are basically the same. Here is the magnetic diffusivity, and this is the difference between eta 1,1 and eta 2,2. So it means that probably due to the shear, both components of the diffusivity are different. So, and here this is the magnetic pumping, which I mentioned at the beginning, and we found that there is negative downward magnetic pumping at the base of the convection zone, and it is pushing the magnetic field down. Its velocity is, however, smaller than the velocity than the buoyant velocity, the buoyancy velocity. But
RMS velocity, say.
Right. Yeah, here it's compared with the RMS velocity, but this is smaller when compared with the buoyant velocity.
4.6, yeah, right.
Yeah, so it makes the magnetic fields rise. For them, it's still possible to rise.
And at what point is this? It's just 0 or?
What? This?
Yes.
The maximum here.
Yeah.
This is the maximum.
And the buoyancy was also there, or?
The buoyancy was the average in the middle of the convection zone.
In the middle.
RMS is also Z dependent, right?
think so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but this RMS is the volume average RMS. It's also set dependent, but we compute the volume average for.
I just mean that at some places the pumping could be stronger than the buoyancy.
I don't think so. Well, not for the strong magnetic field cases, because, for example, here the tilt of the curve should be larger, so the buoyant velocity is larger. And I expect this happens very close to the region where the magnetic field is formed, where the emergence should be very, very fast.
But here, this is already subject to the influence of the pumping. No?
Yeah, and this is after the pumping, so this magnetic field is feeding the pumping.
Okay.
Well, and that's more or less all the what we have. These are the conclusions. We have obtained a dynamo action with a strong shear parameter, which is larger than in the sun, but well, we are still in a very, very different regime with the simulations than the sun. Larger scale magnetic field is formed. In average or in mean, the mean magnetic field of the simulation is 0.4 times of the total magnetic field, and the fluctuating field is around 0.6. Models more stable to buoyancy allow the development of a larger fraction of mean magnetic field. This is because it is good for the magnetic field to have a storage region where they don't get buoyant. Locally, the total magnetic field in the base of the convection zone, I mean in the region where it's formed, may be up to 6 times the equipartition value. Magnetic buoyancy is very common, but only a few of these events are able to get the surface. The most strongest events modify the full extent in the y direction, modifying the convective pattern, and the not so strong events only make broader convection cells. The resulting buoyancy velocities are larger than the pumping velocities. And this is still not a conclusive word to say how the sunspots are formed. Yeah. We have this magnetic field which is still very slow compared with the magnetic field at the base, and it's
Very weak, you mean?
yeah, it's weak at the surface. No?
Let's say slow.
Sorry,
Low.
slow.
Low.
Yes, yeah. lower magnetic fields at the surface. That's it.
Thank you. Any questions, please? Yes, Matthias.
Yeah, so I'm wondering what the influence of this artificial forcing term could be, because it's changing the dynamics, in fact, isn't it?
Yeah.
So have you any comparison to a case where really a force was put in? It's just as tailored to reach the desired profile of the nucleus?
We have not made that case, but Silvers, for example, the Valle, they have made some cases of that, but they don't have dynamo. They use impose a vertical field, and they study how are the horizontal magnetic structures are formed, and how they become buoyant. Yeah, and then there is not dynamo.
Do you have a plot of BZ at the surface?
BC.
Yeah.
So
Line of vertical components, the field.
No,
As a
no,
function of x and y.
not here.
I mean, here you would like to see what happens if you actually draw a horizontal cross section, like here. And you always find, I think, bipolar regions in that.
But they are not so evident. Because, well, probably they are not evident because in the middle of the cell, convective cells, there are strong vertical magnetic field. So probably, you see what I mean? So here,
That's exactly what you want to plot, right? The vertical field.
yeah, but I want to plot the vertical field coming from this field here,
Okay.
and the vertical field in this region, the turbulent
Mostly
field
from
is
there,
yeah, is still larger.
This would be another question. What's the influence of this boundary condition?
Yeah.
Because it's not only a bit artificial.
Yeah, and a good thing to implement the two convection simulations should be the Jorn setup and extended domain to see what happens with this kind of things.
Do you include gravity also?
Yeah, it's very gravity.
But another thing could be also interesting to also go to the spherical coordinates if it would be different or not.
Well,
But
probably
should
it's
be not that different.
implement the shear. The shear is not so difficult thing. Well, basically it's the same. So only changing the coordinates.
Yeah.
Gustavo, was there any difference in the aspect ratio results? I did not understand.
Yeah, there is a difference. If the aspect ratio in changes in this direction, so this is x, produce the same, more or less the same that the square. But when the aspect ratio is changed in y, both decrease. The dynamo growth rate and the maximum amplitude of the magnetic field also decrease.
Decreases.
Decreases. Yeah, it takes a very long time.
You said that the the maximum field strength is 6 in equipetition units. How does
Yeah.
that depend on resolution?
Well, we have only two different resolutions,
Yeah.
and it decreases a bit.
Decreases with increasing resolution.
Yeah. This is, well, here there is, well, here, for example, there is 6.7. No,
Yeah.
no, this is not this quantity. Well, where I have this quantity.
Maybe not, you don't have it, but you have the average at least.
No, but
Sorry, you have the average and the RMS.
I should have this quantity.
The peak, yeah?
Yes, I do have it. Probably the version of the table is not the final one. Yes, that's right. So
P
here,
Y, tilde, yeah.
here it is.
Yes.
6
Yes.
and 6.
Ah,
And for the larger resolution, the maximum is 5.6.
yes.
This is the local value.
This is the local value in the shear region.
The peak.
Is the peak.
Mm.
It's taken from the slices.
As it says actually. Yes. Right. Okay. Is that's interesting. But you need to make sure it's
Probably there is not enough statistics in
that's
the.
the problem perhaps. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah, but well, I used. This is made with the time that I got from the HPC project in Luhi, and doing these 4 simulations, I spent a lot of CPU time. So I could not run this for too much.
These are 256 QH.
256 Q.
And your time is over now? Or?
I have 10,000 hours.
Less. And how many processors did you need?
In well, for these cases, I was using 64 processors, and it took 70, something like 300 hours each.